History of Mary Immaculate and Saint Mary Magdalen, Discalced Carmelite Secular Community, located in Flemington, New Jersey. In 1947, Reverend Mother Mary Magdalen of Jesus Crucified, who was at the time the prioress and foundress of the Carmelite Monastery in Morristown, New Jersey, felt inspired to make a new foundation in the Diocese of Trenton, New Jersey. This foundation was established on October 14, 1949, in New Brunswick, New Jersey. Reverend Mother's inspiration included the forming of a TOCD community in New Brunswick. This community originated sometime between 1949 and 1956. The first Third Order member was Bishop George R. At the time, the Third Order Carmelites were only men. In February 1956, the TOCD community moved to Flemington, to where the original Carmelite Monastery was. This original monastery was built outside the town of Flemington in an area of rich farmland that the early Protestant settlers called Mount Carmel. It was here that a women's section of the TOCD community was begun. First Spiritual Director. Father Apollinaire Erdos, OFM, was a Franciscan missionary who was born in Hungary in 1897 and ordained to the priesthood in 1920. In 1929, he volunteered to go to the China missions. In 1949, under communism, Father Erdos was arrested and put in solitary confinement for 6 months. The communists tried to publicly discredit him, beat him. He was nearly executed and was mocked publicly and then expelled on April 20, 1952. He lived in Australia from 1952 to 1956. He arrived in the United States in 1956. Miss Anne Sparich, who was an extern Carmelite tertiary who lived at the Flemington Monastery in 1956, wrote about the first spiritual director for the TOCD community. She stated that Father Apollinaire Erdos, OFM, arrived on May 22, 1956, to Flemington. He lived at the monastery for 8 years and was the chaplain for the Carmelite nuns. She writes, "As director of the Third Order of Carmel, he was so exact in all points. He called lax members, wrote to them, and exhorted them about their responsibility to God. On each point of the rule, he was simple and spiritual. During his beautiful conferences, he exhorted members to greater effort and acceptance of suffering for the love of God. He compared members to little children before a God who was our Father." Members came to meetings from as far away as New York. In 1972, the Carmelite nuns moved to their present location on Harmony School Road in Flemington, New Jersey. Of course, the TOCD community moved along with them.